everyone! How are we doing? I absolutely adore that just before we went live, it's just, oh, let's see sexy thumbs. Oh, that's going on the captions. Here we go. Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of Therosian Odyssey. We are now on episode 5. We have had our first 4 episodes, each of which was individual episodes with the lovely players that you see before me. And we have now entered our 5th episode, where the gang are back together. At last, everyone is back together. So yes, this is season 3. We are on Isles of Uncertainty. We've learnt a lot in our individual episodes, I think it's fair to say. And now is the time to combine knowledge. I explained over the course of the last 4 episodes, I don't know why I had to do maths in my head then. Over the course of the last 4 episodes, we have moved away from Girls Run These Worlds, the channel which this AP was originally running on. We did 2 seasons of sort of like I think it was like about 10 episodes, right, per season, 8 to 10 episodes. Of like a limited series, and we found because this is a world very much rooted in Greek mythology and sort of that sort of sprawling epic tale, that 10 episodes was not quite doing it for us in the way that we needed it to. So we have loved our time over on Girls Run These Worlds, but we have now moved over to my channel, and I will be the facilitator of the game. My name is Kat. I am known on the interwebs as the Lore Mistress, and I will be the Game Mistress. Yeah, let's get all of you to quickly go around, introduce yourselves, and just remind everyone who's present what character you will be playing. And we are using 5th edition D&D, so your class choices and ancestry choices as well. So let's start with who's on my overlay, because we got a brand spanking new overlay, everyone, and we worked very hard on it, and it looks really good, and I'm very proud of it. So let's start with the person directly above me. Let's start with Lindsay. You are muted.
Yes, so yay, I did it again. Hello everyone. Sorry, I was also chewing some chips, so it was all a favor for you guys. My name is Lindsay. I play Eva, the little Kenku ranger, not a rogue. You can find me online as Chunky Chickadee, and I don't know why I went first. Hi.
I'm so sorry. I will take that feedback on board for future episodes.
Like, fuck Lindsay.
No, it's the first one. I'm like, what do we say for these things again? Like,
yeah, she just said what to say.
I'm a troublemaker.
Mindset. It's very early for some of our players here, so just bear that in mind, everyone, as we remind ourselves how the heck we run an AP, because I've completely forgotten to. All right, let's move on to Lulu then. I'm going round.
I knew you were going to pick me next, so I should have unmuted myself. Hi, I'm Lulu. I am playing Callista. She is a human Triton cleric who is a little bit of a rogue, although Lindsay's character is a much better rogue than Callista could ever be, but she tries really hard.
Do you know what? I think that Callista needs to start giving herself some credit, okay? I think she's managed to unlock like one door in our entire 2 seasons together. That's better than most non-rogues. So, that's average. All right, let's go with the burb next. Jen, if you'd like to introduce yourself, please.
Hi, I have suddenly forgotten my own name and everything about me. Hello. Every time. Kat thinks I do it on purpose. Hello, friends. I am Jen, aka Jenburb. I will be playing your friendly local half-elven Order of Scribes wizard, Estrella.
you had that on tap. You were like half elven, Order of the Scribes, wizard. Everyone else was like, who am I again? What's my name? Where do I come from? You were like, I don't know what I'm doing. Oh, I'm the half elven Order of the Scribes wizard.
I have to keep my characters straight because I play like 3 or 4 5e characters a week. So like,
fair enough. Well, I guess that leaves, last but not least, our beloved Kumi.
Hello, I'm Kumi, and I play Kaluka Killsong, who is our barbarian. Kaluka's here looking for fun, I guess, and a reason to play bagpipes anytime she can, accompanied with her trusty little bunny, Caillou.
Wait, hold up, where's the Greg?
Every time I see that.
And now it's assembling of the pets.
I don't have my cats here, but we have a cat running the stream, so.
For proper introduction to our pets as well, we have a separate one-shot that you can check out. Now, we're going into season 3.
Yes! Everyone's so excited and so hyped. I love it. I think we've all missed each other very, very dearly. All right, let's get back. Let's pull back into professional mode for just a moment.
I saw you, and I still miss you.
So, just a little bit of safety stuff before we start. Theros is, as I mentioned earlier, rooted in ancient Greek and fantasy, and a lot of the tropes that are associated with that kind of era of history and that genre. You will find some of the things that you usually find within games and media that kind of take place in those settings. I will not be including discrimination or hate speech of any kind, so there's going to be no misogyny or transphobia, no homophobia, no racism, or any kind of ableist lens within the game, but there may be some difficult topics that arise. We have classic fantasy characters here that all love to just write really tragic backstories and love for me to make their characters go through horrible things. So if I have specific things that I think might come up, I will warn in advance. But if you do find that anything comes up during this stream that you think, I am not at all comfortable with this, or I would rather not hear it, then I will please encourage you to protect your headspace. Thank you so much for your support, but I would rather that you feel safe and comfortable than you endure, as it were. Cool. So, I think I've said everything. So that being said, how are we all feeling? Are we ready to jump into it?
Oh yeah, definitely.
Let me show you my sexy thumbs.
Thanks for those sexy thumbs. If we can all just show our sexy thumbs, please, right now.
Protection, just thumbs out.
Every single season we have like a new wave or like a wave. Is this gonna be?
Yeah, we had the spider. We had the yep. Sexy thumbs.
Yeah. Now it's gonna be sexy thumbs this time. All right. Well, in that case, if you're all ready to dive into it,
Dive in.
Punny, I've missed you all so much. I might cry. Okay. So sleep. Most in Theros would agree that no matter the strifes of the day, it is when one can find some time for peace. But it is also said to be the moment that the gods do their work, laying out the groundwork for their schemes and machinations to take place. As you all find yourself pulled from your respective dreams, you open your eyes and find that your slumbering trials are not quite over yet. Estrella, Eva, Callista, and Kaluka, you are all sat in a large space, an expansive void which, as far as the eye can see, is made up of chaotic and almost spiderweb-like threads. Each thread a life, each life sewn into a large tapestry, many tapestries upon the walls around you. Sat in the middle of these threads, next to a large loom, is an even larger figure, though you feel as though they have made themselves smaller somehow to be present. They wear draped golden robes and large, almost horned shoulder pads. Masks affix each side of their face, and in each of her hands she holds a distaff, a tool used for spinning, and a suspended spindle. Her most notable feature, however, is her hair. Silvery in colour, though infused with the magic and strength of the Nyx, it shimmers iridescently. It makes up the dangling threads all around the room. It wraps around her body and through her tools and around where her eyes should be to create the appearance of a blindfold. I need no religion check here from any of you. You all know well enough the various symbols, idols, temples, and texts that cite a figure looking much like this. You sit in the presence of the great weaver of fate herself, Clothis, goddess of destiny. She smiles to see you all assembled here, as if she looks upon a great masterpiece that she is one step closer to completing. And she waits.
Eva scowls.
I love that you unmuted.
Absolutely
Just to say
incredible.
that and then muted. I also need you to know that it was really good that I didn't completely lose my shit then, because my autocorrect had corrected Clothis's name to Klutzy, and that was the I almost said it out loud. It's a great weaver, Klutzy.
Yes,
it was
Klutzy,
just-
goddess of destiny.
Possibly just I had to just be like, stop, don't laugh, wait till you finish. But yes, she is sat in the center of the room. She is looking upon all of you. Probably notes Eva's scowl. And actually, I think what I will say, Estrella, Lulu, and Estrella, Callista. Oh God, Estrella, Callista, and Calliope. What I will say is that I think as you wake, you get the sense that you are sort of waking, whereas Eva is sort of sat next to you, kind of like dangling her feet. She looks a little bit more bright-eyed and bushy-tailed, as it were, than the rest of you. So she kind of looks a little bit more settled here, as if she kind of understands her surroundings a little better than the three of you do. And there is no sign of Onyx.
Where's our friend?
You are all right here.
Onyx?
She takes a moment to kind of consider, and then she says, I have lost connection with Onyx.
Terrifying.
What does that mean, lost connection?
She is safe.
Does her role in destiny take her elsewhere?
For now, it would seem that way.
But she is safe.
You will learn more of Onyx when you wake. She smiles.
Are they all... Did you show them what you showed me?
I certainly didn't show them the same thing as I showed you. All of you had very different experiences, but all very important experiences.
All leading up to what?
The reason that I have brought you here. Together. Your destinies. And she brings down these threads And onyx is still weaved within that. Callista, you recognize this braid. You have seen it so often in your dreams. Onyx is still weaved within it. But you can see it is sort of, it looks a little bit different to how you remember Onyx's thread looking before. It looks a little frazzled. You know, like when you get a thread and then you run your fingers in the opposite direction of the thread and like some of the like looser threads come out of it. It looks a little like that. It just looks a little off. Something about it is different to how it was before, but it's still very much entwined within your braid, and you recognize the threads of your friends as well as your own.
Seeing Onyx's thread there calms Callista down a little bit. Waking up and not seeing Onyx there gives her a little bit of an existential crisis, because her whole role was to bring these people together, and waking up and not seeing Onyx was kind of panicking her. So at least seeing the thread, she's not quite as worried. And she's like, it's gonna be okay, guys. Onyx is still with us. I mean, I can still see her thread.
Mm-hmm.
So it's gonna be okay. And she kind of like goes up and just pokes Kalyuka just to like see if we're actually really here.
Yeah. Physical contact is made.
Oh, good. just checking. I hope that didn't hurt you, Kalyuka. I just wanted to make sure you're actually here.
Kalyuka looks at you like, really?
Kalyuka barely registers the feeling of something.
Yeah.
It's not like I barely register. I mean, it is like Callista. I mean, never mind that. But Callista.
Are we not minding that?
Yeah.
Callista, have you seen this before?
I mean, I've been seeing these threads in my dreams since before I met you.
But all of us here together. Have you seen all of us elsewhere? I got distracted by a dirty thought, my bad. Have you seen all of us elsewhere doing something together?
I mean, in my dreams and my visions, I've seen how important it is for us to be together. You know, the gods need us to do something. And I was supposed to bring you all together. And I don't know what it means that Onyx isn't here. I mean, she's still here. I can see her thread. It looks different. I'm worried about her.
But it's still intertwined with ours.
It is. It just, you know, yours I can see when I look at you. I can see, you know, the colors, and I know it's you because I can feel your essence from it. Hers, it just looks a little frayed.
Would you like to make an insight check?
I would love to make an insight check. I love
Onyx.
being the
you
first
have a
roll
high
of
insight, but I want you to specifically be focusing in on Onyx's.
I love that there is the actual goddess of destiny here, and we're still asking Callista about it. This is peak this party.
Yeah, she seems at peace. She's kind of like waiting. I think she's really just waiting for some level of reaction. She knows she's going to get to what she wants to talk about eventually, but she just kind of wants to understand where all of your heads are at and watch all of you adjust to being in the room together first. So she's kind of just watching and waiting. She doesn't seem to mind that you're like all talking to each other and not really addressing her at the moment. What was your insight?
Well, I didn't roll a natural 1, so that's something.
Fantastic.
It's a 14 because I rolled a 3.
Your insight is off the chart.
Well, it's no 25, but
it's no 25 for sure. Classic Theros. I think that we need to get like Theros merch and
hashtag it's no 25. Yeah,
it's to be written on the t-shirt. Okay, a 14. I can give you. You get like it's a very vague feeling. You get nothing very specific about Onyx's state of mind, but I think the thing that will stick out to you most. Obviously, I've mentioned that in what it looks like is a little frazzled. It doesn't look quite like it's a very well put together, strengthened thread right now. As you kind of try to focus on it and I guess do what you talk about as kind of like feeling Onyx's essence, you hear, as you often hear when you try to tap into Onyx's essence, the sound of a song. That has always been the thing that has been louder than anything. It is a song that is made up of what sounds like 1,000 women singing, with sort of drums and a strong, steady warrior's cry for vengeance and justice and protection. That is a large part of what seems to make up the essence of Onyx. That song right now, you hear it, and it sounds strong, but it sounds out of tune.
Interesting.
And that's the main thing. I'm going to give you no more specific details than that, but it's not quite, just like the thread is not quite right, the song is not quite right either.
Yeah, and I think Callista will tell the party that. She's like, when I look at your threads in my dreams, I get images of who you are and what's important to you. And with Onyx, it's a song, and it sounds out of sync. I don't know what that means, though. I'm usually, I don't know, I think I'm just having a hard time with her not being here and what that means for all of us.
I think at this point, Eva would kind of waddle over to Callista and sort of like reach out to like grab her hand and like hold it in hers and gently like pat it while looking up at her and being like, you know, Onyx will be okay. Onyx is strong. We have to trust that everything's gonna be okay. And just reassuringly pat and being like, okay.
Yeah. Callista's a little startled at first. No, she's like, yeah. Are you okay, Eva? I know she was your friend.
I trust that Onyx is going to be okay, and Onyx knows what they're doing, and you know, we have her thread and it's still here and we can still feel her with us, so we have to trust that she knows what she's doing and she's going to be okay. What we can't trust is what's in front of us right now. She'll say that a little bit quieter and then turn and look over at her favorite god.
Favorite deity of all time.
Favorite deity. While still holding
feel.
Callista's hand and petting it, but she'll look over and just be like,
I will absolutely, I don't need any kind of insight check for you, Lulu. Eva is not thrilled to be here. She does not in any way trust this goddess. You can feel that. It's like that there's a real hostility in her energy, actually, which
squeezing your hand very firmly
is surprising. I think that would be really quite surprising for you. Eva is a person that tends to very curiously observe things and tends to be the one that, you know, like you've seen from the way that Eva is around like Dion and things like that. Is willing to give chances and is willing to kind of get the real lay of the land. But there's a sense of hostility here that is very not natural to Eva's disposition. And so that, yeah, something about that, which interestingly, considering where you have recently just discovered that some of your powers come from, essentially, if I break it down, Eva really hates your deity. So there's a sense of conflict, and your experiences with this deity have been very peaceful and have given answers and provided guidance. And that does not seem to be Eva's experience at all. So that's a sort of something that I think that Callista would take note of for sure.
Yeah, and she'll squeeze Eva's hand back and kind of lean over and whisper to her, like, I think we're gonna need all of the gods before this is all over.
Eva will give like a little snort that like, you're not wrong, but I don't like it kind of snort.
Can we still see our own threads, or are they just gone?
No, your threads are sort of hanging. It's like you're kind of in the middle of like a. I use the term empty space quite loosely. There are threads up and around you all over the show, but next to where Clothis is, there is this semblance of a sort of empty-ish space, and that is where she has kind of like sort of combed out like your threads with a very practiced ease. Like there are thousands upon thousands upon thousands of threads, and she knows in less than a second where yours are, how to bring them to the front, and they kind of like braid together naturally. It's a very natural process watching them entwine together. Your threads are still hanging, and in the background of the room, just to give you a little bit more about the room, you are kind of in the middle of what feels like a void. As far as you can see, there are just threads stretching out into like an empty space, but the Nyx is kind of swirling around it, and infusing the threads, and infusing Clothis herself. So you get the feeling that she has brought you to some kind of sanctum of hers. This is potentially where she works, or at least a representation of where she works that she has conjured up to help you all to process the what her job is. There's also like a large wall that you can see that is lined with various different tapestries, all that seem to represent some key location or some key thing in Theros. The lives of people, or the threads of people, kind of weave into this tapestry and out of it again with ease. You can see kind of the three major poly of Theros, Meletis, Certessa, and Akros. And there's a tapestry that kind of represents all of them, and you would recognize them very easily. Like, it's a representation, but you can see there's a port city with this kind of like the waves surrounding it, and you recognize those docks. You lived there your whole life pretty much, Estrella, so you know that city. Akros's one is sort of like this very desert surroundings with this kind of, it's like this fortress sort of rising up, surrounded by cliffs and sort of like with winds. Like you can see like threads. They almost move. The tapestries actually move, almost in accordance to sort of simulate the daily lives of people, and you can see occasionally like a thread that kind of represents the wind that sort of like makes its way past, and it's like quite pretty to look upon. And Certessa, which will probably be much more recognizable to Eva, is sort of but you would know it's this sort of city rooted in trees, and they kind of twist around the buildings and support the structures, and the structures support the trees, and it's all a sort of mishmash of civilization and nature working together to be strong. But that is the three main ones, and then there are other tapestries around that kind of seem to symbolize various other areas. Some you recognize, some you've heard tale of perhaps in myth, but those are the three sort of main ones in front of her.
Are there any threads that I can see that seem to be gravitating towards any of ours?
Roll a perception check for me.
I'd like to ask her, Lady Faith,
she leans forward.
These threads, these strands that you have control over, Have you ever seen any of them corrupt themselves without your doing? Or has anybody ever asked you to maybe change fate itself?
Oh, I get many a plea to change fate, day in, day out. And sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. Thus is the nature of things. But corrupted threads.
Is anybody else been able to play influence that you yourself haven't?
Oh, yes. Why, Eva and I were just having a conversation that reflected this. My brother, Krufix, god of mysteries, god of finding lost things, god of secrets. He likes to keep secrets from me. And without me, there would be no order, no structure, no purpose in people's lives. Without him, there would be no surprises. There would be no changes. There would be no sense of excitement. We need each other in a way that perhaps neither of us are fond of.
And with us, what do you hope that we do to help you control fate, influence it, change it unexpectedly?
No.
Or
My task for you is different. Before she continues, what is the result of your perception check?
14.
Okay, and remind me what it is you're specifically looking for.
I'm looking for any threads that I can see that are gravitating towards any of ours, just so I can see, like, are there paths that are trying to intertwine?
Yeah. Okay, so honestly, as you look and you kind of look in the way that your threads braid together, but you, Estrella, look a little bit further back into where each thread kind of branches off, because you see where the meeting point was, and that was where the threads begin to braid.
Is there, by any chance, like a meeting and then like a whoop and then another meeting?
Yeah. It kind of like, as you're looking specifically for detail, and you can see, oh, this really kind of gives a representation of like the story of our lives. There was that moment where they kind of come together and they knot together, and then they split off again into various different areas, and then they come back into each other and begin to braid together, and this braiding is a very recent thing. Equally, you do see other threads. You see other threads that kind of sort of flit in and out of their lives. You can probably make a great guess at what some of these threads, or who some of these threads are. For example, Kaliuka's, you would look and you're like, oh, that's clearly like threads of her various family members. You would, from your dream, probably recognize Cassian's thread. I'm guessing that's probably the one you might be looking for, because of your dream. It is there, and it is... What did you roll? A 14. A 14 is pretty good. While the others have moments where sort of the threads kind of, I guess, like wrap around each other like that, Cassian's thread is knotted with yours. They are knotted together, but then move sort of at the moment that you kind of where you are now, they move off in their separate area, but they are knotted in a way that other people of your party do not have any kind of knot with any of the other threads that they intertwine with.
I think there would Poppy. I think oh my, I love it when Lindsay's dogs come out. So yes. I think one thing that the more observant in the party might notice, and definitely our lovely goddess of fate, is that Estrella begins to turn ever so slightly to try and follow the threads and see where they go. And then seems to stop and change her mind.
You would absolutely, and I don't know that that would necessarily be surprising to you. I'm going to go ahead and say that's probably going to be going by their very high insight and high perception. That's probably going to be Eva and Callista that is more likely to notice. Estrella,
I have a 22 passive perception.
You absolutely do. So you would notice this for sure. Calliope, you're very tuned in. You're talking to the goddess, and the goddess is speaking back to you. You're very tuned in to what Clothis has to say. But Callista and Eva, you would notice that Estrella is doing what Estrella does best. She is analyzing, looking at sort of like the bigger picture. You do the talking. I'm going to figure out the puzzle, right? And this is exactly what this is. This is a chaotic web. This is probably Estrella's dream, to try to unpick this and figure out this puzzle. But there is, you both have high insights as well. There is a sense of, I think that you would probably see, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, Jen, as she kind of like looks over these threads and she sort of starts to look back at various people's threads and she has a moment of just like, and you watch like her face kind of like flicker a little bit of like, is this actually a good idea? Like, it's one thing to like treat this as a puzzle, but also this is people's lives that I'm looking at and seeing where people intertwine and have met other people and things like that. Maybe this is not my wisest move.
Yeah, and there was definitely a sense of like, I want to see what happens next, and then that moment of never mind. So you kind of notice that, and that's what you'll get for your perception check. Kumi, returning back to Clothis, she kind of addresses you all now, and she says, as you can imagine, I have not brought you here for nothing. I have not brought you together for nothing, for it is I that brought you together. My task for you, however, is not in any way to do with shaping fate or changing destiny of people's lives, or certainly not in the intricate and detailed way that I must handle things. But where to begin? You are all aware of the events of the silence, are you not?
Eva nods vigorously.
Yes, Eva, you definitely are, because we kind of spoke about it in your dream. But if you could all roll me a history check, please.
We'll look at that. Let's roll your strand die. 24. It's almost 25.
It's not a 25 though, is it, Australia? No.
I tried. If there was one thing to roll a 25 on.
I do the 15.
15? Okay, yeah, good.
And Calista was a 22. I think I was muted.
All right, yeah, you all know a pretty good amount about the silence, and I would say that probably if the three of the four of you will have clearly like read extensively or have a lot more knowledge on the topic. But I think the foundations that you would kind of need when the words the silence are brought up, essentially there was a period of history where, and the details are very fuzzy, they're argued out by historians a lot, but there was a period of time in Theros' history where a mortal satyr by the name of Xenagos ascended to godhood. He went on a very elaborate and at great cost, I imagine, to a lot of different people, including himself, ritual, very specific events took place that led to this being able to happen. And many historians don't know how he did it. Like, no one knows how he did it for sure. There's theories and ideas and beginnings of working it out, but no one knows how he did it. But what they do know is that he managed it. He managed to ascend to godhood, and he demanded his place in the Nyx to become the god of strife and discord, god of chaos, as it were. And this was not popular, so the stories say, amongst the gods. They summoned their champions. Xenagos was defeated and killed. And afterwards, a great silence fell over Theros because Krufix brought his fingers to his lips and said, enough. What that silence meant was not that people were literally silent. It cut the gods off from the mortals for a period of time. And there are, again, many arguments about how long this period of time was. Some historians think it was only days. Some historians think it was like decades. There's such disparity in the understanding of how long this event happened for, but it is known as the silence because gods and mortals could not communicate. It meant that priests could no longer have their prayers heard. It meant that oracles would no longer receive visions from their gods. It meant that, champions of these gods, the champions that had defeated Xenagos, were then punished by sort of being cut off from those that they are devoted to. And it left a lot of Theros feeling purposeless and uneasy. It sort of almost created a chaos. And historians, again, argue whether it was a great necessity or a terrible thing, a terrible punishment. There's so much that people don't know about this period of time. What Klothys tells you, though, is this. The gods struggled with the implications of Xenagos's ascent, what that meant for them. And Krufix, his reasoning for this action, and my reasoning for allowing it to happen, as well as other gods' reasonings for allowing it to happen, is because unresolved tensions between the gods inflated with this newfound insecurity, with the knowledge that someone could just come in and disrupt like that with no warning, without them realizing. And because of their squabbling was how it happened in the first place. That's something that Krufix was very clear about. We have allowed ourselves to grow so distant and so involved in our own domains and our wars between each other that we are no longer paying attention. And so now people try to rise. They try to rise above their station. They try to sow discord. And I guess in a way, Xenagos must have got what he wanted, because he managed to leave behind chaos within the Nyx. Arguments broke out, tensions were higher than ever, and all gods made great changes in their approach to their rule. And Klothys is included in this. Any myth will tell you that Klothys has drawn back to guard what is called the Seal of the Titans. And she sort of turns and she says, I was entrusted with this task for centuries, and I have upheld my place as their jailer. After the silence, the gods began to squabble more, and I needed to ensure that some level of order and structure were maintained so that all of Theros and the Nyx itself did not fall to chaos. So I came away from my place as the jailer of the Titans. I left the underworld and I came here to the Nyx. And in doing so, I helped with that restoration, and I continue to do so because we are still undoing damage done by the silence. However, that has left the Seal of the Titans vulnerable without my presence there to watch it. And that is where you come in. I felt that at some point this would happen, but now in my view of being able to anticipate much of Theros' fate, I have begun to anticipate some stirring, some rumbling, the Titans are aware that their seal goes unguarded, and they may well begin to act. I cannot say when. I cannot give much detail. This is what the gods need. We require mortal agents, mortal help in unpicking the details where we see the much bigger picture. But the Titans, and she brings forward these three large tapestry of the three cities of Theros. They threaten Theros itself and the thousands of lives threaded within it. My vague notions of what I do see, and first of all, Setessa comes forward. I see Croxa, known as Death's Hunger, a titan made up of a rapidly spreading rot that will destroy the Nessian wood and all creatures within. Without those trees to keep the city rooted, it will fall, and all within will fall prey to the corruption of death. Their souls will be gone. The bodies will remain, and they will be ravenous. And as she speaks, you watch as this sort of tapestry of Setessa with these huge trees that kind of twist around. They support the buildings support the trees. You watch as this dark rot kind of starts to spread its way through the roots of the trees and into the plants around, and up through the trunks, through the branches. And as they do, the rot turns the thread to dust, and the dust crumbles and the buildings crumble around, and you see souls, animals, people running and screaming as the rot threads into their own threads, and they begin to turn into something else. They are no longer people. They are some kind of ravenous entities that seek to eat and to consume more of life and turn it into death. She brings forward Miletus. I see Uro, nature's wrath. Lying on the ocean floor is Uro, and Thassa herself will not be able to contain the rage that has hold of his heart. He seeks devastation, destruction, vengeance upon all for the mere act of existence. Miletus once fell prey to Tromocratis, an angry kraken that wreaked great destruction upon the city and its buildings, but they rebuilt. If Uro awakens, Miletus shall be like Atlantin was, gone in a matter of minutes. And you watch as coming up from beneath Miletus, you can see the ocean floor, and there is this great stirring, and it begins to turn into a whirlpool that creates waves of destruction encroaching all around Miletus and through its buildings, flooding them, people crying out and screaming and begging for mercy as every single building sinks below the ocean floor, and the water continues to spread far into where you know the rest of the fishing villages and the towns that surround Miletus and beyond are. She brings forward Akros. Flage, known as Fire's Fury or the Burning Wind. Akros is a fortified city that has prepared itself for every single invasion possible, every war, every imagined threat from sky, land, and even the underworld itself. But strong walls cannot hold back Flage's might. He is as clever as any military strategist, and he will bring his legions and his forces of Fire's consumption itself, and all within the walls will burn. And in the background, you all know it well because you have all been to Akros at least, or probably read about it within the books. The volcanoes that sit quite near to Akros's city. One such volcano, it erupts often, and its path does not tend to fall towards Akros, but the other, a giant, a super volcano that rarely, if ever, erupts. Its activity is constantly monitored. It erupts now in this tapestry, and you watch as this lava plumes out of it like a hand trying to claw its way out of the earth itself. And with it come fiery legions of creatures and monsters advancing upon the walls, burning the people within. A wind so strong that anything it touches turns immediately to ash. And she sighs, and then she looks up. And those of you with a perception check, passive perception above 15, who has that? All of you? Is that all of you? Incredible. You all will have noticed, or it comes to your attention as she sort of draws her gaze upwards, and above you have been this beautiful swirling nebula of Nyx with these gorgeous stars shining and providing the light. But now as you look up with her, you see each and every star has begun to blink out as you have been talking through these cities. And she says, and the one that we must fear above all others, Scotha, known as the Eternal Dark, the strongest, the most ambitious among them. He does not set his sights on Theros. He sets his sights much higher. If the others are successful, then Theros will lose thousands and thousands of souls, extinguished, just as he will extinguish every star in the night sky. And without our champions, our people, our purpose, the gods will be weakened, and they may fall prey to his designs. Right now, what I feel is stirrings, rumblings, some feeling that they will return, some inclination as to where they might return, how they might operate, but it is vague. I can see no further than that. I am no longer their jailer. What I need from you, all of you, it is your destiny. I have chosen you, and I have chosen you together specifically because I see in your future a possibility of success. I need you to stop the Titans from being awakened. I need you to halt their efforts. I need you to save the lives of the people of Theros, so that the lives of the gods will also continue. For one cannot exist without the other.
Are there people trying to facilitate this escape? People like us?
You can't see her eyes, but you get this sense of concentration from her for a moment. She is clearly trying to understand exactly how this is going to come about, because it's not as simple as just it's not a physical gate that they're just going to like kick down and bust out of, and you're going to have to like fight them. It's much more complicated, and she's trying to figure out how this will work. But just like clearly with Xenagos, it was difficult for the gods to understand this form of magic that was found by Xenagos that allowed him to ascend. Here she is struggling. The Titans are ancient beings, and they have access to ancient ways that perhaps the Nyx does not provide complete knowledge of. She takes a moment and she says, I can see nothing clearly, but they will not be able to be freed without aid of some kind. I don't know what form that aid takes. Could be mortals like yourselves, could be creatures, other creatures with their own ambitions, their own designs, their own thirst for chaos and destruction. Or it could be the very elements themselves. This is what I need your help in discovering.
Their threads, do they exist here? Would we be able to see them as well?
The Titans, you mean?
I mean,
The
going
Titan-
off what like Astria did earlier, are the Titans threads mixed or connected with anyone else?
The Titans do not have threads.
Oh,
They
they're
are a
above
law
it.
unto themselves.
Yeah, I'm imagining it's because we have threads because we kind of fall under the dominion of the gods, but I don't think the Titans do.
Did the gods have threads? The other gods?
The gods do not know.
So it's only us. Only mortals have threads.
Yes.
Is there anything still that persists in the world that belonged to him? Xenagos, that is. If I could get my hands on an artifact, if I can understand the magic that he used better, we may be better able to trace it.
I imagine that there is something. I would not know where you would find this. My only lead on Xenagos, if you believe Xenagos to be in any way related to the Titan's return, my only lead is, as I told Eva, I sense this threat that you fight now, this Lady Helene. Something in her story is linked to the events of the Silence.
Of course it is.
And she does pull down Lady Helene's thread, which you would recognize, Eva, from your conversation, and still it is obfuscated in the same way that yours is, in a lot of areas. Not all of it, but parts of Helene's life are shrouded in some kind of mist. She is hidden from me, and she is not hidden by my brother.
And I imagine it's tremendously uncommon for a mortal to be able to hide themselves from a god.
She smiles. No, it is not common.
Is that her way of saying it's fucking unheard of?
Well, you roll an insight check for me.
16?
16. Yeah, I think you would get the sense that I think that you would tell from her tone that it's not impossible. But
it's just really hard.
It's uncommon. She's not just like joking and it's impossible, but it's uncommon for sure. It's something that is notable to her that this has happened. And it seems to you that normally she can provide explanation to it as well. If something is, normally there is a reason. Perhaps Crufix has had some hand in it. Perhaps others have had some hand in it. But she can provide reason. She can locate the source of what is obscuring. Not so in Helene's case.
My lady, having been the keeper of the seal and a jailer, I am sure many have tried to break that seal or take it from you. What would you think would be the most beneficial way to really approach that? How do you think Lady Helene could acquire that much power?
I do not know that Lady Helene is after the seal.
You think somebody else might be using her as a pawn?
Is in any way part of the issue with the Titans. This Titan problem is related in its history, but I don't sense Helene specifically wishes to see them released. She does have designs and ambitions on Theros. She has it for some purpose that I cannot see. But it is beyond what she tells her cohorts.
But it could be that she has connections to people and organizations who might be connected to the Titans.
Who might be using her to sow discord in Theros to create the rifts needed to break the seals.
Because you did say that she had some connections with the person who ascended to godhood who wanted to sow chaos and that, so it seems to potentially be a parallel there.
There is some link in their story, yes. There is some link to the events of the Silence, and Lady Helene is linked to it. But Xenagos is dead.
Are there those that wish to bring him back as well?
My experience of mortals and of souls as a whole is every soul has a person that wishes to bring them back.
Or do we know if he had any descendants?
Or followers?
Xenagos called himself a planeswalker. He came from very far away. Few would be able to trace his root and origin, I believe. But I do know he spent much time in the Scholar Vale, where many of the satyrs live. And you would all know, because he probably would definitely have said something about this at some point. Hector is from the Scholar Vale.
Oh, would Hector have stories?
How old is Lady Helene? And that's me asking her, not Jen asking you.
How old is Lady Helene?
I'm ideally looking for, like, you know, a normal age and not like 2,500, you know?
It's interesting you should ask me that. That is one of the things that is obscured from me.
Helene.
Damn. MILF. To be clear, that was the burb and not Estrella.
Okay, well, I'll have to just ignore that one then.
I'm just imagining Estrella nodding sage and saying, MILF.
Oh, MILF.
Just
Technically,
Callista
is technically the only person who has seen Helene and knows what Helene looks like.
Maybe Callista should just divine for Helene's age.
Could do.
Fascinating. So you can't tell some of her past. You can't tell how old she is. She has obscured herself from you. Does Carapaia factor into this at all? Or is that simply where she has chosen to set up base for no... Was it arbitrary? That we can tell.
Carapaia is her home and has been for her life.
Do I remember when the first... In the research, because I would have had time to do research because we knew we were going to the Dacra Isles. What is the first recorded mention of the Dacra Isles? How long ago?
Oh, crikey.
I'm so sorry!
I feel... okay, right, roll a history check while I try to see if there's actually any specific lore on this.
I mean, give me a second. I might roll a 1. Yeah, no, it's 24.
That also just subtly dropping that the Titans might get released, that, you know, we have to encounter all these things that if we mess up, it's going to happen.
I'm honestly thanking fuck that this is a Greece-themed campaign because it makes it so much easier to spell things.
I don't know. My notes have a lot of red underlining on them.
I know.
Yes, but like it makes the phonetics
what
a little
did
easier.
You roll?
24.
What did you
I've written everything phonetically.
Okay, I think I remember when you did the research on the Dacra Isles before, you came back with a very similar
As
answer.
if she wouldn't.
But the Dacra Isles, not huge amounts is known about them.
Mm-hmm.
Your time with Cascade has taught you that actually Cascade knows a heck of a lot more about the Dacra Isles than most of Theros's historians do, in that she has begun to at least understand that there is some kind of pattern to them, and that what some of the inhabitants of some of the islands might be, or what is to be found there. And even her research, her journey, is incomplete, very incomplete, but that's what her kind of life's purpose, her goal is. She wants to be able to map the Dacra Isles. This is what she has set herself, and it is a lofty task, let me tell you. But they are also known as the Isles of Enchantment for good reason. They are known for their magical mists. They are known to confound and confuse, and they are known to be centuries and centuries and centuries old. They have existed. I think historians have tracked that they have probably existed before even the cities of Theros were built. They were existed during the Age of Tracks. which is when Archons ruled Theros and mortals were sort of their subservience, before the Great Rebellion brought us into sort of the next stage and the birth of the cities. But they existed before that. There are myths of the goddess of the sea, Thassa, falling in love with a Triton queen named Karina. And when she was killed by a harpoon, Thassa cried, and her tears became the Dakra Isles. That is what the famed myth is that says how the Dakra Isles came into existence in the first place. But it is very mythical and story-like and fantastical. So most likely there is, as with most myths, a seed of truth, but not quite the full story. Yeah.
Cool.
And
Thank you.
these seals that you mentioned, are they at every respective city that you had mentioned with the vision?
It could well be. I would imagine that the fact that I can even perceive that these titans are after the cities, it makes sense, of course. These three great cities have the most concentrated population of mortal souls, and if the titans are now working in tandem, the reason that they were imprisoned, of course, before, is that they worked as their own individual entities. They did not band together. There was no sense of community between them, and so we were able to contain and defeat them one by one.
But now there's a common enemy.
I feel there is a common enemy. They have made an alliance, and they have each taken on a task. And they know well how important mortals are to the gods. If they target the mortals, then they will weaken the gods, and then they may target the gods.
And after that, are they capable of making more mortals? If they are to kill everyone, who is left to worship them?
They have no interest in mortals. They just desire their existence. And no other. The Titans do not think that the closest you can get to a Titan now is probably some level of giantkin. But they are essentially forces of nature, forces of elements, given sentience. Powerful sentience. They are concepts. They do not think as humans do. They do not seek to build civilizations. They just seek for the existence of their concept. And so when you have a concept which is essentially rotting death and sort of a nature's destruction and fire and darkness,
they're abstractions.
that is what they seek. They don't need cities and people to exist and things to rule over. They just want everything to burn and die and be dark. They're looking for a dark, damp hole to live in.
That's just me at 7 a.m, honestly, but
they need nothing beyond that. So
it would be someone who would want to harness their power to perhaps create their own world, their own new world.
Honestly, I think that like when you think of like stories and things, perhaps Caliuca, of like these kind of entities, it is often wrapped up in deals. Whether the Titans seek to seek to keep their ends of the bargain will be a whole other matter altogether. But if they are going to be seeking aid or need help in having their kind of like seals broken in order for them to be freed, and that's going to probably involve a complicated ritual with very specific circumstances. What Clothis would want you to get from this is that you have time. This is not an imminent threat. They are not all about to be released. This is something that she considers sort of this will take a long time, years in the making. And when she draws parallels between this and sort of the silence, what happened with the silence, and Xenagos' story, Xenagos' ascension was years in the making, decades in the making. It was a long, drawn-out plan that took him. This was not something that he completed in 3 days. He took, 30, 40 years? That was like, this was what he managed after. It was like his life's work, right? And it's the same with these titans. They've had thousands of years, but now they have just become aware, that there is a potential that they could get out, and now they will start to plan, if that makes sense, and put things in place and reach out to whatever aid they require and make it happen in some way. The task that she is, they're only just starting to play the chess game now. They've just realized that the board is set up and they're like, oh, we can play with this now. So now that's where they're at.
And I think during all of this, Callista has been sitting there with her eyes just as big as saucers, still gripping onto Eva's hand, and with her other hand, she's gripping onto Kayuka's hand. And she's listening to all of this and all these questions that are being asked, and she's like, but I think for now, though, it doesn't change what we have to do. We just have to focus on what's in front of us, on Lady Helene.
This is probably going to be my advice to you as well. For now, any kind of stirrings or rumblings will begin in those cities, but Helene has designs on Theros herself. She may not be directly linked to the Titans, but she is a problem in her own right, and left unchecked, she may succeed in doing the Titans' work for them.
And luckily,
Helene
our goals
is
align.
your target.
Eva will kind of like look at the group and just kind of like smirk and be like, we have some secrets we have to go figure out.
We love secrets. Now, friends, it is coming up to half past the hour. I was about to just be like, it's this time for all of you, right? It's coming up to half past the hour. Shall we take a break there?
Nah.
I think she kind of like would sort of round off the conversation, and I think she would be looking for some kind of acknowledgement that you are choosing to help. But I will be very clear with you, as the gods are often want to do, she's not really left you a choice. She's basically gone, hey, the fate of the entire world is in your hands. You'll help me, right? And it's not as if you can really go, nah.
The world can burn, fuck it.
Yeah, so this is a thing. She has come into this showing you things. She clearly wants you to feel like that sense of like, this is purpose and this is what I must do and I want to do it. But it's a really big thing to drop on someone, like, oh, but do you want to? Don't you? It's entirely your choice.
We can just deep fry Akros, sous vide. We can sous vide a lantern,
Yeah. All right, let's head to a break then. And when we come back, you will wake on your lovely boat, and we will see what has gone on in your sleep, in your slumbering absence. So, thank you all so much for joining us. Those of you who have joined so far, we are very excited to come back, and we're very excited to be back. And we will probably be about 10-15 minutes. So, see you very soon. Bye. Hello. Oh, the thumbs. We've already failed, and by we I mean me. I failed us. Hello everyone. We are back with part 2 of episode 5 of season 3 of Therosian Odyssey, Hours of Uncertainty. I got there, I did it. I was like, I have to just put this in this order in my head. Hopefully everyone had a lovely break, everyone rested and recuperated. We have drunk some drink and had a little stretch of our legs, and we are ready to return to the world of Theros. But not only that, our lovely party have just had very interesting dreams, and they have parts that they shared and parts that are solely their own experiences. And now I think it might be time to bring them all back together in the land of the wake and see what they do next. So, as you find yourselves ending this moment with Clothis, and you can feel at the beginning when you were pulled into this dream, you could feel like this tug, this pull. It was a very disorienting sensation. It was almost like, obviously your characters wouldn't necessarily know what this feels like, but you all know the feeling of like when you go over in a roller coaster, you go over like that bump. It's like that kind of like sort of weird sensation. You feel that again, and you can feel that you are now waking up. And as you do, Clothis smiles upon you all once again with that really slightly disorienting expression, as if she's just succeeded in some great plan of hers. But she says, remember, as you do this, rely on each other, rely on your friends as well, the people that you know and trust to help you. You will need all the help you can get. And rely on me. I can help you too. And then that pull happens again, and you find yourselves waking. And we'll move, I think, to Eva first. You find yourself coming back into consciousness. There is a really strange feeling of like some like movement on your cheek, some kind of like slight furry sensation on your cheek, as something sort of like presses itself up against there. And as you sort of come into consciousness, you can't help but sort of slightly jolt a little bit. And as you do, you hear a familiar voice say, "Oh, bloody hell, you're awake."
Whose voice is it?
You open your eyes, and it is Suri and her little rodent friend that you met goes scurrying away from you. Had been kind of pressed up with its little paws against your cheek, kind of like sniffing you, and probably liking the feel of your quite soft, warm feathers. But the moment that you move, it goes scurrying and goes back into hiding in Suri's pocket. And she's kind of up in the crow's nest with you. Not like she hasn't like properly pulled herself in, but she's like sort of like balancing on the ladder, holding on to one of the sides and just sort of peering over at you. She looks like she's the way that she's sort of half sitting on the kind of the top rung. She looks like she's been there a little while, kind of watching. But now she's kind of like startled. Probably you roll d20 just to see how well okay, no, she's pretty dexterous. There's a moment where it might look like she's gonna fall off the ladder, but she catches herself pretty easy and she's like, "Oh, fucking hell." And then she looks at you and she goes, "Good to see you back with us."
How long was I asleep for?
Well, it's midday.
Do you normally watch me sleep?
No, I do not actually. And I wouldn't be doing that had it not been the direct order of the captain herself. Speaking of which, I must now go and report to said captain that you have woken up.
Wait, what? What? And Eva will like get up and look kind of concerned and, ask why they're being checked in on.
It's better if the captain explains, but something happened. And you all should know about it, but you and your friends, none of you would wake up. We tried to wake you up and none of you would wake up. So we're awake
kind
now.
of like
They are too.
roll
right?
her eyes and sigh heavily and just kind of be like, stupid god stuff.
Oh, okay. I'm gonna go and talk to the captain. She'll want to see you. And it will be probably in her office, so maybe head down there now. And if you're awake, then I'm guessing your friends are probably awake. So yeah, just go and kind of stand on the deck, and then but take your time. She starts to like wind her way down the ladder. She's not very good at this. Bedside manner could be improved with Suri, I think. She's been told to sort of watch you and didn't really know what else to do beyond that. But
Eva would not take her time, and Eva would instantly be throwing her legs sort of over the side and climbing down from the crow's nest sort of right behind Suri.
All right. We then move obviously to Callista and Estrella. You both wake up and sort of looking a little bit awkward, I think. Sort of like peering in awkwardly is Hector. He sort of stood in the doorway, but he is sort of half peering into the room, and leaning against the door frame. And as you kind of wake up and come into sort of like focus, you hear calling Cascade's voice, and she says, have they woken up yet? Hector, you're supposed to be in the room with them, monitoring their vitals. Well, I didn't want to disturb them. They're, they got quite. I think
I'm sorry. You're what?
Up now. the vital, just to make sure that you're okay and keeping alive, and
why wouldn't we be?
That's what's means there.
Well,
you have been. He just looks at Cascade, who sort of like comes into view into the room. He's like, they're asking me a lot of questions. And Captain Cascade says, "Oh, hello, good morning, or maybe I should say good afternoon. Regardless, you have a lot of questions. I have a lot of questions too. Why don't we go meet up on deck and have a chat, shall we?" And she doesn't look like angry at you. I'm going to say that. It's like this. There's a sort of you get the sense that a lot has happened. Clearly, they were worried for your well-being, which perhaps indicates that your sleep has become unusual or has come to their attention in some way. But a lot has happened, and she has this kind of like freneticness about her of just like, we just need to figure out what's going on here. It's very like she's very rough and to the point, and she knows you, Astray, and she knows that you're gonna like sit and ask question after question after question. So she's just like, we're gonna do this all together in a conversation all together. I'm not sitting here and answering all your questions. She's very like in that mind frame. So she's like, I'll answer your questions as best as I can. You'll answer mine as best as you can, and we'll figure out what's happened. But something has happened, and you need to know about it. So
And I think Callista kind of sits up groggily and rubs her eyes and looks at them, and she's like, we know we'll be there in just a moment. And she kind of looks at Hector, and he's like, I appreciate your concern, Hector. We're okay. We'll be there in a minute.
Oh, no problem at all. No problem at all. I was monitoring you, by the way, from a distance. You understand? I understand people like their privacy. I know myself. I like my private. And the captain just looks at him, and he's like, "Anyway, you know, we'll see you up there." And then he kind of strides off. And
and as soon as they leave the room,
just takes a moment, and she's like, and then she goes after him.
And as soon as they leave the room, Callista's gonna look at Estrella and just say one word, just say Onyx.
Let's go find out.
Let's.
Like, Estrella's like actively getting dressed as this is happening.
Meanwhile, we then head into Caliuca's room. And what we find when we look in there is you wake up, Caliuca, and you too feel fur and a sort of slightly wet nose, and maybe the prod of a horn once or twice up against you. And that's not unusual. You know, Caillou is a permanent resident in your bed with you, and sort of normally kind of curls up and cuddles up to you. But what is unusual is that Cedric is also sitting in your room. He's kind of like, he's pulled up a little stool so that he can, because your bed's quite tall for him. He pulled up a little stool, and he's mixing up some tea. Possibly the same tea that you had with him last night. You do kind of recognize the color and everything. He's mixing up some tea, and he looks up and he says, "Oh, you're awake."
Cedric, I had the most wonderful dream ever. Did you know that you are in the presence of a potential superhero? A potential champion? Do you know? Just remember this moment, Cedric, because you have witnessed the moment where the strands of fate have united. Cedric, you will be my knight. You will cook for our health. How do you feel about that?
I think Cedric just looks at you. He's holding this bowl, like it looks like a bowl in his hands, this cup. He's holding it, and he goes, and then he gently sets it on the thing, and he goes, "I'm glad you slept well. You slept a long time. Happy to cook for you, but Captain asked me to..."
The captain calls for us, of course, like she calls for champions. Come, Cedric, we have to go. Make our breakfast for us. Fitting us to power us up.
Caliuca!
Come, Caillou. I can't pick up Caillou. Like, Caillou, do you know, in my dream, there was like exploding volcanoes. Oh, yes. You know, it was flooded everywhere.
Caillou prods you very hard with her horn in the middle of your kind of like...
Okay.
And then kind of like gestures towards like Cedric, like, oh, he was talking. And then Cedric's like, something happened.
To you?
No. Your friend, Onyx. Something happened.
And she doesn't even listen to the end of it, rushes on to that.
Okay, so you all kind of assemble up on the deck. As you get up there, and I say up, obviously, either as you climb your way down, members of the crew who have been kind of, they look groggy, which you might be expecting because there was quite a wild party last night. But the grogginess is kind of mixed up with this like sense of slight panic and confusion. The they're talking heavily amongst themselves, and the weirdest thing is Cascade is not, yelling at them and telling them that they need to go back to work or anything like that. She also looks very concerned, and she sort of leans herself up against the balustrade, and sort of like Hector and the others file themselves in, and Cedric follows with your tea and begins kind of like grabs a plate of like sandwiches and begins to like hand them out to you so that you all have like some breakfast while this meeting happens. And obviously for the rest of you that weren't immediately told, it is very clear Onyx is not present here. Onyx is missing. That would be the thing that you would notice probably immediately, and you might even be slightly expecting it. Cascade leans back and she sort of like presses her temple for a moment as she tries to kind of gather her thoughts together, and she says, okay, I'm going to give you the briefest explanation of what happened while you were asleep, and then we'll go from there. Not long after you all went to bed, the party dwindled, fizzled, people were making their way back to their bunks, but there was obviously a few people up on deck still, myself included, and Onyx retired to bed around the same time as most of you did, a little after you, Estrella. She came back up, and we all thought first that perhaps she couldn't sleep, or, Tilly tried to talk to her. And Tilly, by the way, is also present, stood next to Dion. Both of them look very, very troubled. Like, Tilly looks physically very upset, and Dion looks very troubled as well. And every so often they keep like kind of looking out to the sky expectantly and then seeing nothing and kind of looking back. And she says Tilly tried to talk to her and she wouldn't respond, and it became pretty clear very quickly that she was sleepwalking or in some kind of trance. She was not responding to anyone, and I know you're not supposed to wake a sleepwalker, but I didn't realize that Onyx had the condition that she would sleepwalk. But our main goal, of course, was to stop her from walking overboard. But the more I think about it, the more I think that perhaps it was no normal sleepwalk. She was murmuring to herself, humming. She was humming some song, not one that I recognized at all. And we tried to guide her back to her room, but she just sort of stood there in the middle of the boat, humming, getting louder. Then she began to sing. And at that moment, the mists started coming in. She unfurled her wings. She flew upwards. We tried to stop her, physically tried to stop her. Tilly tried to grab her, and she was too strong. She flew up into the mists.
How far could she have gotten? She can only fly for so long without...
Well, I know that. We could hear her singing still. It was getting louder, and it was like we could hear other voices joining her, and drums? I'm not sure. Something was not right about it. I thought she was under some kind of spell. But as she sang, the melody, it changed, and it sounded very out of tune. Something was not right with it. And then, as the mists rolled in, it went so quiet. The mists dissipated about 10 minutes later. We were calling for her. We anchored, of course. We tried to climb up to the crow's nests and find her. We could not see her anywhere, but once the mists had parted, we found... Normally when the mists come in quickly like that and then leave, we find our boat in a different situation, perhaps near some different islands. We have been transported. That is the nature of the Dakra Isles, of course, but when the mists parted, they had not taken us. They had taken her, you understand? She was gone. And there is no way of finding her easily.
Did the song sound kind of like this? And Callista will try to kind of hum the song that she's heard, probably very badly, because I don't think her performance is very good.
You go ahead and make me a performance check.
Estrella will contribute lyrics as well as she remembers.
That's an 8.
Roll with advantage because Estrella is helping.
Okay. It's a 12. It's better.
Well, I think right. Okay, I'm going to be a little graceful here, and I'm going to say that I think that it's by no means a noteworthy award-winning performance, but it is enough of the familiarity of what you know of that song to be that she kind of listens and she's like, yes, I recognize those lyrics. Yes, that's the song.
That's that song, that's her. I mean, whenever I'm in my visions, that's what I identify with her.
Right.
I mean, I know she's still alive. And I know she'll come back to us.
Okay.
You
know that she's alive?
Yes. And Callista is really hoping that she actually does, trusting in the threads that she's seen. Yeah, okay. Yes, she'll come back to us.
Well, I mean, the conversation I was going to have with you was... Honestly, I felt that when you did wake, because that was the other strange thing that we do need to discuss. We tried to wake you. We've been trying to wake you all morning, and you would not wake. None of you.
That was...
So...
God dreams.
Shall we call it divine intervention?
Yeah.
You've been having dreams. Does this happen often?
Dreams, yes. The type of dream that we had last night, no.
She looks around, and I think that now she's kind of delivered the news. She can see like a lot of the crew are kind of crowded around and everything like that, and she's just, step into my office, and she kind of pulls you away, and she also, I think, probably would summon Hector to come in with her, because Hector is her, obviously aside from Estrella, Hector is her liaison for magic and understanding god dreams, as they're called. So as you called them. So she pulls you into the office and she shuts the door. Right. And exactly what kind of dream was it?
Well, I gathered from what was said that you all had your own individual dreams as well, yes? So we all had our own individual dreams. It was a Karametra... Clothis, not Karametra, Clothis. Too many Ks. It was a...
How do you think I feel with Kalyuka's entire family?
That's fair. It was a dream brought on by Clothis.
Yes.
Our dreams came together into one, and she asked for our help. And she
You
said
had
that
a dream-
Onyx had diverged from us.
You're telling me you had a dream where you met with the Great Weaver of Fate. Is that what you're trying to say?
Yes.
And what did she want from you?
Assistance.
To do her job for her?
Um, wow. Holding.
I'm not wrong.
You're not.
But also, that's no different from what other gods ask of the mortals.
Right.
Which isn't to say it's necessarily reasonable, given the disparity in
Help
power.
her do her job for her.
I think she kind of like smiles slightly at Eva, and she says, "You seem less than enthused. I trust that this was a difficult task."
It is a long-term endeavor.
I can fairly say this is a
investment.
task of titanic proportions.
And you're going to give me no information other than that, I take it.
Any information that we give you will do one of two things: cause widespread panic, or alert the wrong people to our intentions.
I think, like, she raises her eyebrow at that first option because she's like, cause widespread panic, it must be, like, bad. And then at the second one, I feel like she'll take that a little personally. Like, she'll be like, the wrong people.
We are being watched. We have already established that we are being watched. I believe it was Eva that has seen this surveillance already. I am not saying that we can't trust you or we can't trust Hector. I am saying that we are being watched. Everything that we say and do is up for grabs. And this is something that I will not speak for anyone else, I personally do not want to risk this information falling into the wrong hands.
No one has cited the parrot for some days.
That doesn't mean it wasn't here. That doesn't mean it wasn't in a different form. Actually, let me ask you, you know them. Is it always a parrot?
Yes.
A good start, but that does not mean it wasn't here.
Right.
For the sake of everyone, some secrets must be kept the way they are.
And with a wave of oh wait, no, I don't have that right now, never mind.
Okay. Well, I mean, our choices are limited in how we can help Onyx. I truly thought that I would be having an argument with you about finding some way to go after her, scouring the islands until she is found. And of course, if I had a sensible way of doing that, I would consider it. But
we are told she is safe.
Yes.
And we still have a mission.
Mm-hmm.
You've already signed up for one wild goose chase. We don't need to go on two, especially if we know she is safe.
She actually looks incredibly surprised, and I think that what you would be able to garner is that I think based on what your knowledge of her her usual behavior patterns are, she's got Hector in here. She has not brought Tilly in here with her. that is not usual for Captain Cascade. Tilly goes almost everywhere that Cascade goes. I think that you would probably all be able to tell that perhaps there has been some conflict on this matter between Tilly and Cascade. And that's very unusual. They're very like cohesive, and it's literally like what the captain says happens in terms of Tilly's thoughts. But in this case, I think you would be able to tell that Tilly was sort of like very far off of her, and there's like a tension. There's like a tension between the two of them, and she's not brought Tilly in with her to make this decision or have this conversation.
I will make a note for my own ADHD. If I don't say it out loud, I'll forget. To go and approach Tilly later.
Okay, got it.
Callista, you remember the other day when you offered to give me a chance to talk to my family anytime I missed it?
Yes.
That magic, would you be able to contact Onyx with it?
I mean, I can try. I don't know if it'll work or not. I'm happy to try though.
Do they need to be in the same place as us for you to be able to reach them?
I mean, no, I can reach anyone, within the world. I don't think I can do it today though. Let me see.
The reason why I ask is Onyx appeared here from the Nyx out of nowhere as a baby, right? Do you think there is any reason, anything at all, that could call her back there without us?
I mean, it's possible. I know there's something not right with her. Her thread didn't look right, but I mean, I'm happy to try to contact her. I don't have it. I haven't studied that spell today, so I would have to do it tomorrow. But I can certainly try.
Okay. Maybe a night as well. Perhaps it could be easier. I don't know if the stars being out could make any difference, but I've always felt that energy from her.
Yeah, no, it's definitely worth a try. So
I know that Clotus told us to believe in her, but I know that Ava doesn't really believe in her that much right now. But if I could, it is so unusual for her to leave without telling us.
I know.
Whatever the reason may be.
All I can think is that her god called to her.
Perhaps she might have left a note, like in the bedroom. Maybe something.
It's worth checking out. I mean, she's not the most communicative, but she might have.
I think Cascade is kind of listening to the two of you theorize. She sort of she seems to have calmed a little now, because she thought this was going to be an argument, and it's actually turned out that you've gone, oh no, like, we trust Onyx is probably fine. We need to focus on the mission. She's like, oh, you're on the same page as me. So now she's like relaxing a bit. And she kind of she says, well, for what it's worth, I really did get the sense that this trance that she was in, that was what caused her to fly up. I don't think she left entirely of her own accord. The mists took her somewhere. There were two separate happenings, I think, that coincided, unfortunately timed, that the mists decided to come then. But normally, like I said, they're strange, the mists. They seem to know, they seem to understand how to take everything attached to one boat. They don't, leave people behind. They know what's attached to a vessel, and For
Hector,
some
have
reason,
you
Onyx must have felt separate from the vessel to them, even not just because she was flying, but just
She
in her
disconnected.
heart, disconnected. And so they took her instead. I will also say that, I don't know, for what it's worth, I think it might be worth trying to reach out to her. If that's a possibility, if she can identify an island, and in any case I can recognize it from any kind of description or anything that she gives me, and I find a way of getting us to that island. Of course we will go after your friend, but
Oh yeah,
you mentioned her god. She follows Nilia, does she not?
yes.
Nilia is well known to be a jealous goddess. If she was in commune with Clothis, or Clothis attempted to talk to her, and Nilia did not approve of this communication, there could perhaps have been some conflict there.
Hector, have you ever heard of maybe another champion, anyone else who has been taken away by the mist like this?
Another champion that what? Sorry, I didn't quite catch it.
Has been taken away by the mist like this, the fog that came to take her? Has there been any other instance?
No, I mean, I've not been sailing on the Siren Sea for all that long, to be honest. This is my first large voyage out with Cascade, but as far as I'm aware, normally the mists, they take whole vessels and their crew. It is not, I've never heard of them taking a single person before. I don't imagine it to be impossible, though.
I wonder if our destinations have changed.
You don't very often find single people just sort of flying out in the mists or swimming in the sea. There's no land for miles around, you know. If she has indeed disconnected herself from the boat somehow, it will have viewed her as a separate entity, and maybe it was potluck, maybe it had some design, some purpose. These mists are very strange. They seem to have sentience. They seem to have decision making, as it were. But at the same time, it all feels very random at points.
This does upset Kalyuka a little bit, only because earlier Eva was called by like the lure of I think the mermaids, the mer people that had come.
Chorus's people, yes.
Yes, and didn't realize what they were doing and jumped into the water. And this feels kind of similar. So, I mean, it's an unreasonable worry, but that's where a lot of Kalyuka's worry is coming from, that we weren't able to stop her and even ask.
Yeah, and they did try. They're very vehement that they tried to stop her. They did at one point when they were starting to worry and she was trying to fly off. They tried to wake her up at that point because they didn't know what she was doing or where she was going, but they didn't succeed. She was just completely out of it. She was just sort of singing and doing her own thing.
Well, if we were to go back and her mothers were to ask us, there she is.
That is something that we're going to have to address once we know more. Let us wait one day until Callista is able to try and contact her. Depending on what we find then, we can make a decision.
And we can't lose sight of what we're out here for. I mean,
we do have a limited time.
And Onyx, I mean, we know she's a very capable warrior and a very capable person. We have to have faith in what we saw in our dream, that she is okay and that she will come back to us. As hard as that is sometimes to do, I know you don't have as much experience as I do in putting your faith in what the gods tell you. I mean, I've been having these visions all my life, and there's a part of me that wants to run off and try to find her. But I think we have to keep going forward.
I think what it comes down to is whether or not we trust the person who presented us with this information. And I do not speak for anyone except for myself. Whether or not I trust Clothis is irrelevant. I trust you.
I'm learning to trust her.
You need to believe in destiny.
I need to believe that these dreams that I've been having all my life mean something. Although, after that last one, I don't know that I'm kind of hoping that it's all just in my head.
We could all still come together in the dream. One day, hopefully, maybe Onyx can be that. Even if we can't see her physically.
I think she'll come back to us. I saw her thread. I mean, I know it's not fixed, it's not set, things can happen, but her thread is still with us, even if she's not.
In any case, we shall continue. I will pull anchor and we shall continue our journey to the island. I suspect that we will reach the islands proper by nightfall.
Nightfall? Wonderful. Okay.
It will be good to get our feet on land again, I think, after so long at sea. But I do not know. Some of the mists still linger a little. It's a beautiful day outside, but I cannot see the islands well enough yet to know if I recognize anything.
Captain, if once we go on shore, we will need to travel inland. Is there any way that we can reach out to you again?
Well, I accompany you, of course, in whatever capacity you require of me. The islands, if I recognize them, some of them at least, I have some knowledge of. I can accompany you ashore. I will be dropping the anchor of the boat. I will be waiting for you. I will not just continue to sail on without you and leave you on an island. If I have not made that clear, I apologize.
No. Just in case we get lost, is all we're concerned about.
Yes. Well, I believe that Hector knows some of the spells that you spoke of. In fact, Hector, are you able to try to reach out to Onyx now? You spoke of this spell, and Callista may have to wait till tomorrow, but Hector, surely you can. And he kind of like, yes, I suppose yes. Yes, I can do that. Yes. Oh God, why did I not think of this earlier?
My hatred from Cedric has transferred to Hector now.
Like
a nice kid.
Hector / Katrina, just remembering what Hector can do here.
I look at Callista and I look, at least you remember when you can do it. Better cleric here, everyone.
So now Hector casting is probably all of your favorite thing because he really lives for the drama of the moment, shall we say. It's not like I always feel like Callista's casting is quite quiet and introspective and like makes great use of the tools, but is a very like it's a real feeling of like connection with the god and like cutting everything else out.
Oh, I bet Hector is very verbal and somatic.
Hector's a spectacle and a half. It's a very somatic, even very like stand back. I require my space. He's like the lead actor of a stage show who he needs his space. He needs his moment to get into character. Yeah, got to get into the moment. Got to get into the focus. So he takes a moment, and he begins to sort of lay out the various components that he needs, and then he closes his eyes and pulls deep within himself, and he starts to chant sort of like a prayer to Thassa, very like wordy, long dirge of how grateful everyone is aboard the ship for her benevolent sort of overlooking, and we must protect our friend and I need to reach her, basically is the summary. It's like the TLDR is basically, yo Thassa, can I please get a line through to Onyx, thanks. But like, imagine that in like 5 paragraphs. Anyway, he kind of finishes, and there's this moment where he listens. There's nothing.
What does that mean?
She is not responding to me. I don't even know that I connected with her. I didn't feel her. That cannot be. It is almost as if it didn't work. That cannot be. And he looks very confused.
Does it feel like she is not on this plane, or there is some barrier preventing you?
A barrier. Yes, that's what it felt like. A
barrier.
I came up against some block, something is holding me back from her. Perhaps the island, if she has been taken to an island even, but
I mean,
I did not feel that she was gone. I did not feel that I was, I have tried to connect with a person who turned out unfortunately to be deceased before, and I know what that feels like. It feels like emptiness. This is different. It didn't feel empty. It just felt like blocked.
The captain mentioned, or sorry, not the captain. It was I don't remember who it was. It was someone. Someone mentioned that Nilia was a rather jealous god.
Cascade, like, oh yes, that was me.
Yes. I wonder if this is part of the machination of taking her in the first place.
Perhaps. I can continue to try. I know, of course, because you are welcome as soon as you regain your strength back in that regard. I will, either one of us. I am, of course, at your service.
Trust in fate.
Trust in Callista.
Callista, the pressure is mounting.
I know, and Callista looks a little guilty at this point, because, and she can't lie. She tries. She's like, I'm so sorry. I could have done it today. I couldn't face not being able to do it, not being able to make a connection. I'm so sorry. I just feel like it's all my fault. Like, I was supposed to bring you together and keep you all safe, and now she's gone. And
your purpose was to help us follow our threads, and Onyx's thread has taken her somewhere else for now.
Seeing that Callista's getting a bit upset and it's getting a bit like this, I think she kind of goes, perhaps if you have things to discuss, use this room. Hector and I will go and make busy elsewhere.
I thought she was going to say, get the fuck out and have your feelings on deck.
Yeah. No. She's like, she's not that kind of captain. She's like, use this room, make use of this room. Hector and I will go and be busy elsewhere. Won't we, Hector? And Hector's like, what? Oh, yes. And he looked like he was going to kind of like try to comfort Callista a bit, but now he's like, oh, yes,
I step in front of Hector like, we don't really require your assistance here, Hector. Thank you.
Yes. I will go and make busy elsewhere. Right. Cedric, I must go and check. And then he just leaves. And Cascade follows after him and closes the door behind her. And you are left alone in the room.
Callista, our lives aren't your responsibility. You might have been given this position to maybe pull our strands together, but do not feel that you are responsible for what we do or what happens. None of us want you feeling it.
She just kind of breathes, and I think she leans into you and lays her head on your, probably like your chest, because she's pretty short.
Blush.
She's like, I know, Kalyuka, I know. It's just when she wasn't there in the dream, and then waking up and her not being here, it's just a lot. But I trust all of you. And I know that together we can face whatever they want us to.
And you trust that she is safe?
I think she is, yes. I mean, I trust that she is. I trust Clothis, sorry. Damn it. K-words. I was even looking at it in my notes, too, and I still said it wrong.
Then we trust you.
I think that's important. We'll all have to trust each other going forward. But we don't have to worry about the big picture quite yet. We still have to deal with Lady Helene.
We still have to deal with getting to Lady Helene.
Yeah.
And we will see. Well, let us start by taking the measure of these islands by this first one. I know there is a range of things and situations we can encounter. Let's start with one and go from there.
I've heard that it's easy to, there is magic that helps you find lost objects, but is there anything that could help you find people?
Yes, but it is very limited in its range, its usage, and I am not accomplished enough in my magic yet.
I mean, I could try to cast a divination spell, but I get the feeling that we're just going to run up against the same block that Hector did. I think we were given all the information that we're supposed to have at this point.
All we can do is trust, and if we need them, Onyx will find us.
Yes. Onyx is strong. She can protect us.
All right. So, with this newfound camaraderie in mind, is there anything else that you wanted to discuss? Obviously, you had some personal revelations as well as your shared revelation. Did you want to spend some time talking that through, or did you want to do anything else? I leave the rest of the session entirely in your hands.
I want to go talk to Tilly. I remembered!
You did. Is there anything anyone else would like to do?
I guess I would, if Onyx has left any of her belongings behind, just pack it up and keep it safe. Leave it on the ship itself. Like, I don't think we need to carry it around, but just in case she's left any message, whether she was even just like scratching at wood in her sleep, if there's any sort of sign or even some sort of magical presence left behind in the room, just to look for that. But
Will you like a
also
detect
if
magic?
there's- Oh yeah, I think I also have some form of magical awareness, yeah, that I wanted to use. And of course, if Callista wants to do any sort of ceremony or anything like that, uh, I would love to play Onyx's music to help support you and calm you with that.
Okay. As far as looking around her room goes, you can absolutely bring up magical awareness to see if there's anything magical going on. You can also, and if there's more than one of you, I'm willing to let whoever wants to take the lead and then have advantage and aid as well. You can also do an investigation check around Onyx's room to look for sort of like more mundane, like what you mentioned about like written messages and things like that.
Eva, would you help
well
with
that,
that? Since
Calista,
it used to be your... My bad, sorry. Eva, would you be able to help with that since it was your room as well? Maybe you'd be able to see things missing or added that we perhaps might not.
I think I slept there for like one night, but I can definitely, I can definitely.
If I'm remembering correctly, you did not even sleep there one
I don't.
night.
I didn't even think. I
Right
don't even
up
think
in
I
the
slept there one night. I think I got up in the middle of the night and went to the crow's nest. But I can help. I've known Onyx longer than most of you, so I might have some insight into stuff.
In which case, is it either you want to take to do the investigation check and then have the advantage of Kalyuka's help, or vice versa?
Yes.
Yeah.
I'll give Eva the advantage.
My passive investigation is 19.
Your scores make me sick. Cool. I mean, I would like you to do a specific investigation check anyway, because it's a specific thing that you're looking at rather than you're just looking for a room and I'm like kind of taking your passive score. But you do get advantage because Kalyuka is helping you.
Okay.
Also, Callista, are you wanting to do any kind of divination ritual? I think what level is, remind me again, what level spells are sending and divination in comparison to each other?
Divination, I can do as a ritual. It's a 4th level spell. Sending is, I believe, a 3rd level spell.
3rd level spell.
So there is a chance that divination might yield a little more information if you wanted to do divination.
It'll only give me access to things that will happen within the next 7 days.
Yeah.
But I think she would. She's a little afraid to.
Yeah. It's up to you. I'm saying it's entirely up to you. If you don't think that she would, that's fine. But I'm just saying it's a possibility that you might get some more.
I think she would, and I think before Estrella leaves the room to go talk to Tilly, she would also tell her that we should really check in with Dion too.
That was going to be my next stop as well. Yes.
Yeah.
Good.
Although I'm wondering
I rolled
if maybe
a
that's
23.
So 23 for investigation, is that?
Sorry, yes.
Lovely.
My bad. Could I also add in some guidance to that?
Yeah, go on. A roll a d4.
I was gonna say she rolled my passive.
I mean, it's my passive, but I got a +4 because +4 to investigation, so it's higher.
And what was the result of the d4, Kalyuka?
Okay. Let me. That was a 1.
Okay,
sadly.
it's a 24. It's a 24 for
You just keep falling just shy of 25. It's so sad.
Yeah. None of you have, all of you have disappointed me so far today. 24. All right. So what shall I give? I feel like 24 is so high. I feel like I should give a little something. You are in the room. You do see that she has the only belongings she seems to have taken with her appear to be her weapon. And you know, when you ask around, I'm gonna kind of just encompass like investigation being like, you know, asking certain crew members like more detail on what happened and stuff like that as well, just to get a really clear picture of exactly what happened. She came out in her armor, which that was kind of what clued them in that something wasn't quite right. It was like she was like sleepwalking, but she had been in her armor, so she hadn't been in any kind of like her bedwear or anything like that. She came out like dressed and ready for battle. And she had her, you know, her weapon by her side, her like very key belongings that she tends to keep on her. But most of her inventory, apart from that, or like her, like, you know, her clothes, her traveling packs and stuff like that, is still in the room. The bed does look like it was slept in for a bit, so she did go to sleep and she did perhaps begin to dream. And the way that Clothis talked about how she lost connection implies that she did at one point have connection with Onyx, and that was the intended thing. So, but Clothis also didn't seem panicked or worried about it. So whatever has happened with Onyx in that moment, she was either expecting that, or even if she wasn't, it did not concern her that it had happened. I think you look around, you don't find any messages or anything kind of like scrawled along that line. But what I will give you, which I think would absolutely pick up on like Eva's attention because it's so strange. In the middle of a ship, in the middle of a sea that has not seen land for some days, you find on her bed a single leaf, kind of just placed there as if it's kind of like flown in on the wind, but the windows are closed, and it looks like it's just kind of accidentally there, like someone has kind of tracked it in, but there's no way. It's a Setessan leaf. You recognize it, I think, from kind of like Setessa's like flora. It's very much like a kind of like a one that you would find in bushes that kind of grow in the Nessian wood quite frequently. And it's a very strange thing to see on a ship in the middle of the ocean. It's not that would definitely catch your eye. But it's just a single leaf, kind of like looks a little bit crumpled. It's not, you know, not like perfectly laid out or anything like that. And in terms of the magic side of things, the only things that kind of like come up magic is anything that which, you know, I can be more specific once I've spoken to Joan, but anything that Joan would consider not immediately on her person that she thinks she might magically have, but it's Onyx's belongings essentially. It is not anything. There seems to be no trace of magic apart from Kaliuka. I will give you this. I don't think you can even see it, but because your thing is called magical awareness, I think you can almost like taste it. And you've got like this like connection with spirits and the spiritual side of things as well. So you've got a slight connection to the spiritual world. I feel like you can taste that memory you had of the first time that you lashed out with your magic.
Mm-hmm.
You remember very distinctly an aftertaste. Strange, chaotic aftertaste that you've never tasted anything like that, but it tasted like chaos. That's what you remember. And it tasted like raw energy. And you have no idea what that tastes like, but that was the instant concept that came to your mind at the time. And as you're kind of like branching out with this magical awareness, you see nothing pops up, but just for a second, you taste it. There was some very raw magic here. trail, a faint trail of some kind, but it's like it's gone as soon as you taste it. It's like just for a second or two, you're like, oh, I taste that taste again, and it really brings that memory of that dream you had back again for a second, and then it's gone. So I think that's of note for you. So I'll give you two that. Divination ritual. What are you? So it's you ask a specific question.
Yeah, Callista would get out her incense and her little bag of rubble from Meletus, and it's you ask a single question concerning a specific goal, event, or activity within 7 days. And I think she sits down and she's just about ready to throw her little pieces of stone, and she's almost having a little bit of a crisis. Which god is she talking to? Is she talking to Afara? Is she talking to Thassa? Is she talking to, I'm gonna get the name wrong again, Clothis.
Clothis, yeah.
Yeah. And she just sits there for a minute, and then she throws her stones, and she asks, should we look for Onyx or go about our mission to find Lady Helene and trust that Onyx will come back to us when she's ready?
I think you cast it. You take that time that's needed. Maybe, as was suggested, you do it kind of in Onyx's room, but alone, so that you can have. But I think that Calliope would want to play that song to try to strengthen the connection. So, would you want Calliope in the room with you?
Definitely, yes.
Yeah,
she would take that comfort of having her near.
So it's the two of you, and Calliope, you would notice.
Will I have left because I was also in the room up until that point?
That would depend on who Callista wanted in with her. Who is that? Would you ask for all of them, or?
I mean, had this happened before last night, Callista wouldn't want Eva in the room, but going through that experience and the comfort that Eva provided, I think she feels a newfound friendship with her, and she would ask her to stay in the room also.
Perfect. So what Eva would do, she would probably like be on the bed that was Onyx's bed, and she's gonna like wrap herself sort of in the blankets that were Onyx's blankets and get like cozy and just kind of like be holding the leaf that she
playing
found.
with it. Yeah. Admiring it. You know, is there any clues here that I'm like missing?
But wrapping herself in the blankets that Onyx would have been sleeping with up until this point, and just kind of feel like safe and secure. And obviously she misses Onyx, but she's not letting it on as best she can.
All right, perfect. So you take some time, and I think that the two of you in there with her would notice, she's taking a little longer than usual. She's not got that usual like confidence about her. She's like really thinking it through. But eventually, Callista, you cast your shards. And the shard that you pluck simply says, an instrument must be tuned well before it can play. But when it plays, the song will be beautiful. And it comes with this overwhelming feeling that you remember in that sort of serene expression of Clothis's, as she said, don't worry about Onyx for now. You get this sense of like, Onyx is a little out of whack right now, but Onyx needs to figure that out, and she is watched and protected wherever she is. Clothis's design is that all of you will face these titans together, and so Onyx will be safe, and you will see her again.
And I think after Callista comes out of that, you can actually just see her kind of like visible relief on her face because she believed it in the dream, but somehow doing the spell, because it's something she's done all of her life, just makes her feel better, like it's confirmation that she actually got it right when she was interpreting the dream. And she just tells Kalyuka and Eva that she's okay. She needs to figure some stuff out for herself, but she'll be back when she's ready, and she is protected.
All right. Estrella. Estrella is going to go and talk to Tilly and Dion.
Yeah, separately, but yes.
You will find them together.
Okay, in that case, I guess not.
Very, very strange, again, actually. You've never seen Tilly and Dion really interact at all. And part of that perhaps comes from the fact that Onyx did not particularly like Dion and got on very well with Tilly. But in this particular instance, in this particular feeling that perhaps Tilly is feeling right now, they seem to be united, and they kind of sit and they talk with each other with these kind of like sense of like urgent and a bit of frustration, and a whole lot of upset. Tilly is very upset, which again, Tilly is quite shy and very reserved and doesn't normally, make a habit of conveying emotions. But in this case, it's quite clear to see that she is upset. And Dion is actually just sitting and sort of talking with her rather than like holding back and, just disengaging as Dion is prone to do. He is sitting and talking with her and listening to her kind of talk it out as you approach. So you find them, and Dion is kind of just like, well, it's got to have the best interests at heart of the crew. That's the problem. Look, my captain used to be the same back when I was in the Burning Spears. So,
and Estrella will silently come up, make sure they can both see her, and take a seat with them.
Tilly will look up at you, and I think she'll look at you, and then she'll say, I take it then we are not going to find Onyx?
No, but Onyx is safe.
And she sort of sighs.
I know it's difficult to trust, particularly given the fact that we were asleep for the entirety of her episode. But she is safe.
The islands are dangerous. If she's on one of those islands, then she could be in a lot of trouble.
She has the protection of the gods. And I don't mean that in a they're always watching, we'll be fine way. I mean that quite literally.
She has a lot of faith in Nilia. I know that much.
She does. And we have been told by another that she is safe.
Another god? Just chatting with the gods, yeah? Yeah. Alright. Yeah, just everyday experience, yeah.
It is difficult to trust when... I know it is difficult to trust when someone you care about is somewhere you cannot see them.
It's not just that. She had a purpose. She was going after Helene for a reason. And then Dion kind of steps in and is like, well, we don't need to worry about that. I'll make sure that Helene sees her just desserts for what she's done.
I know that Onyx is likely going to want to deal with Lady Helene herself. And we must trust that... I have never been one to trust in the grand design. I prefer to know what things are happening when and why. but I do trust my friend Callista. And she thinks that we can trust that Onyx will come back to us when she is needed and when she needs to. So I trust her.
Look, I know Onyx trusted all of you as well. It's just gonna take some getting used to, you know.
I know.
We had a kinship.
And that's not over. You can't see her, and she is not here. But you still have that kinship. And you will see her again.
I think Dion also kind of like steps in and says, I mean, in the meantime, you know, while we wait for her grand godly mission to be over, if you want to spar.
Now there's an idea.
Tilly kind of like, she is a little emotional, so she like wipes her eyes a little bit, and then she kind of laughs and she's like, you, huh, I could best you in under 3 minutes. And then Dion's like, oh well, now hold on.
Well then, I'll keep time.
Don't I might be the underdog here. I might not have the physical brawn that you do, but I'm quick. You haven't seen how quick.
Shall we find out?
All right, and I think that it's what Tilly needs, actually, is to get a little bit of frustration out. Kind of mad at the captain, but also she kind of gets it, so she's like a little bit. But they kind of duke it out, and I will say, without this at all trying to sound dirty, Dion lasts longer than 3 minutes. He's got a little bit more stamina than that. And takes Tilly by considerable surprise. But she does best him, yeah. So, with that said, I imagine that this investigation and this sort of like ritual and everything took a big part of the day. And, you know, sparring also takes some time. The crew kind of settle back into their roles and everything, and the ship is sailing. And as you all kind of settle into the evening, we find ourselves emerging from the open sea into a slightly shallower sea. You can now see the islands, and one large island far exceeds the size of the other much smaller ones. It is beautiful in the sunlight. The trees almost seem to sparkle. There seems to be this sort of strange taste in the air again as you approach it. I would like one of you to roll a d20 for me.
Anyone, like nobody wants to be responsible for this.
All right, let's do this. Oh, of course I've lost audio. All right, let's see.
I can still hear you.
14.
14. All right. And as this sort of like sun begins to set, you have arrived at some kind of island, and you hear as one of the sailors kind of keeping watch, he kind of yells out, "Land ahoy!" And there's a sense of like frenetic excitement. The crew are very excited by this because they're so close to being able to feel feet on land again for a bit. And Cascade kind of makes her way to the prow of the ship, and she gets out her little telescope so she can look and really have a look at what this island is that you're coming up to. And after a minute of analysing, she goes, Huh. And that is where we will end today's session.
Fuck.
Yeah. Thank you so much for all of those that have joined us. We are very, very excited to be back. We will be running this game bi-weekly, so every fortnight. So our next Sunday that we will be back, now that I have to do mental maths in my head, but it will not be next Sunday, it will be the Sunday after.
The 14th.
The 14th. I was thinking the 14th, but I was like, what if I'm wrong? Don't get it wrong.
I rolled a 14 for the 14th, y'all.
It's gonna be the 14th of July, everyone. So thank you for joining us. We're gonna have a quick run around to everyone, and if you have any projects to plug, now is the time to plug them. Okay, I started with Lindsay last time and I received the feedback, so now I'm gonna go around the other way and I'm gonna say, Kumi, please tell us who you are.
Hello, I'm Kumi. I'm saying hi all the way from India, where I have a little D&D store called Kumi's Curiosities. I also stream over at the Pigeon Killers. We just had a little exciting server competition, battle royale with another server, but that was quite fun. But yeah, you can catch me over there. Yeah, that's all from me until I get more projects. I'm taking a break, y'all. I'm just taking a break from too much streaming.
Incredible. Do you know what? I feel that.
We love a little self-care.
Jen.
Oh shit, that's me. Hi. Okay. Hello.
Stop being surprised.
I'm
You're
always
going
surprised.
to have a turn.
Just fight me. Fuck you, duck. Hi, friends. I am Jen, aka Jenburb, on pretty much all social medias. Yeah, that's me. I do things, sometimes on Girls Run These Worlds, sometimes here. I plan things and I organize things. That's it. That's me.
Incredible. That you know what? That was a solid pitch. To be fair, I did not warn you all that I was going to ask you to do this. Lulu, your go.
It's only season 3. We should have known.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm Lulu. I was playing Callista. You can find me on most social media at LuluNWA. This is really the only place I stream, but because I GM my own game and play in another one, but it's very nice to be back with this table and these people in this world, even though the Titans are going to try to kill us someday.
We have years until that happens.
You got
That's a problem for level 20 us.
Yeah.
Oh, we'll see about that. Anyway, that level 20 is so far away.
Fine, level 17, so I can at least have my 9th level spells.
Not if you level us faster.
Exactly.
Well, I mean,
But then that would cut out so much plot.
No, that's the thing. Cool. Lindsay, your go. Do not ask me to level you up again, or I will level you down.
Hi everyone, I'm Lindsay. You can find me on social media under Chunky Chickadee. I spend most of my days running a little anime shop here in Ontario, Canada. And when I'm not doing that, I am a cosplayer, which I'm currently working on stuff to compete in the World Cosplay Summit Canadian Preliminaries, where I was the runner-up last year. So we're gonna try and win it this year in August. So if you follow me, you'll just be getting a lot of costuming progress,
which is incredible, and we love it. Cool. Hey everyone, I'm Kat. I use she they pronouns. The they is quite new for me, so it's still a bit strange for me to say it out loud, but yeah, I use she they pronouns. I am known as the Law Mistress all around the internet. Wow, the words are going, everyone. It's a good thing we're wrapping up. Yeah, I'm a TTRPG writer. I have done a little bit of game design. I put my fingers in many pies recently, but I am returning to streaming. Obviously, I'm here, and also I will be putting up a proper schedule things I will be doing as we get into July and onwards. I'm very excited. I'm going to start playing some more solo games because they've sparked me joy. Yeah, so stick around because I will be posting lots of lovely, delicious content, and I'm very excited to be back into this game. Cool. Well, thank you so much for watching. We will see you in 2 weeks' time, those of you that were here, and cheerio, I guess is all there's left to say. Bye.